When my mom excluded me from Thanksgiving, I discovered a shocking family secret. The day was supposed to be filled with the warmth of family. Instead, it sent a chill racing down my spine as the door slammed shut, leaving me frozen on the porch. In a twist that felt ripped straight from a twisted TV drama, my mother had called in a last-minute exclusion, her voice trembling with a mix of anger and fear. "You can't come," she said. "It's better for everyone this way." Those words echoed in my head as I stood there, mouth agape and heart pounding. What could be so treacherous that I wasn't even welcome to Thanksgiving dinner? This wasn't the first Thanksgiving with tension hanging thick in the air. Our family had a weird tradition, at least that's how I thought of it. Every year, the cousins would speak in hushed tones after the meal, casting wary glances toward the old family portrait that hung in the hallway, the ancestors gazing down with their stern faces. This year, it felt different. I could almost feel the portrait's eyes locking onto mine, urging me to dig deeper, to uncover what lay beneath the surface. Before I could process why my world felt so topsy-turvy, I recalled an unusual detail from last year. My uncle, usually the life of the party, had gone pale when he spotted something behind the portrait. He quickly laughed it off, but the way his hands trembled as he took a swig of his drink told me there was more to it. I brushed it off then, but now a new horrible thought crept in. What secret had shadowed our family all this time? What was bubbling underneath the shiny facade of pulled-together holiday meals? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads-up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As I pieced together clues, a sensation of dread curled in my stomach. I slipped on a jacket and paced the yard, heart racing. What if this Thanksgiving was more than just a meal? What if everything I knew about my family was about to unravel? With each step, the chill of uncertainty rippled over me, reminding me that I was on the brink of discovering something unimaginable. There I stood, torn between anger and curiosity, desperate to figure out what lay hidden in the shadows of our seemingly perfect holidays. What secret could propel my mother to sever me from our Thanksgiving tradition? The air around me thickened with tension, every sound amplified as I thought about bursting through that door and demanding the truth. Would they dare to keep me in the dark? What was going on in that house? The answers loomed ahead, just out of reach, promising to explode like fireworks once I crossed that threshold. The chill in the air wasn't just from the autumn breeze. It wrapped around me like a fog, thick and unanswered as I paced back and forth. I gripped the railing of the porch until my knuckles turned white, caught between the urge to head inside and confront my family and the instinctual dread that told me to stay away. I squinted through the window at the bright kitchen, its warm lights flickering like candles in a haunted house. I could see shadows weaving through the space, but they appeared almost frantic, bumping into each other like confused moths drawn to the flame of whatever secret was brewing inside. My hands trembled as I fumbled with my phone. I wanted to call someone, anyone who might offer perspective or comfort. My best friend Sarah was always up for a late-night chat, but I dashed that notion aside. She'd probably be stuck in her own holiday drama, and I needed to untangle this mess on my own. I took a deep breath, steadied myself, and in one sudden motion, I opened the door and stepped into the twilight. Instinctively, I crept toward the window, plugging my ear against the cold glass. Voices flowed around the dining room table like muted waves. Laughter danced lightly, but it was undercut with something I couldn't quite place attention, an unsteady ground beneath the cheerful facade. "Did you see the way she looked at us?" My uncle's voice broke through, sharp and angry. "You can't just pretend everything's fine." "Sure, not now," another whispered. "We can't talk about this here, not in front of her." I pulled back, my heart racing. Her? I thought. Who was her, and why couldn't they talk in front of me? My pulse thudded, each beat punctuated by unanswered questions. Were they talking about me? Suddenly, The front door swung open, and I stumbled backward, my mind searching for a shadow to hide in. My mother stepped out with a weary sigh, the shadows of her concerns etched deep in her expression. She scanned the yard, her gaze landing just short of where I crouched beneath the porch rail. I held my breath, fear coiling tight in my throat. "Not now," she muttered, clutching the hem of her sweater. "Please, don't make this harder." A thought jolted through me like electricity. Maybe I wasn't the only one shut out. My mother wore the weight of something heavy and concealed, a burden that seemed to keep her from embracing me like she always had. What haunted her? What dark truth was creeping beneath our family's skin? Before I could make sense of it all, I noticed movement at the edge of the yard. My cousin Jesse cracked the door and waved at me, urging me to come closer. I hesitated, suspicion mixing with curiosity. Did he know something? Should I trust him, or was he just another player in this deeply disturbing narrative unfolding before me? I took a step forward, heart pounding against my ribcage like a drum as the evening mist thickened, wrapping shadows around everything familiar. What would I learn if I crossed that threshold? Would the truth shatter our family, or was it a chance for healing? I felt the world drawing back, the lines between love and fear blurring. Just as I made my decision to approach, a blood-curdling scream erupted from inside the house, sharp and visceral. My heart stopped. What was happening? With steely resolve, I gathered every ounce of courage to bolt toward the door, ready to confront whatever darkness lay ahead. Because one way or another, I couldn't stand idly by anymore. I needed to know the truth, even if it meant facing what I had always feared. And as I stepped inside, the storm that had been brewing was about to cascade into chaos. As I burst through the door, the scene laid out before me was more chaotic than I could have imagined. The soft hum of family laughter was replaced by a tableau of shock and distress. My mother stood at the center, her hands trembling as she clutched a phone, its screen cracked and glowing ominously. Everyone stared at her, their faces painted with terror. "Mom?" My voice broke the heavy silence, a fragile note hanging in the air. The room froze, every pair of eyes snapping toward me. I felt their gaze pierce with accusation, questions writ large in all their expressions. She turned, and for a fleeting second, I saw fear flash across her face before it was smoothed over with a mask of forced calm. It's nothing, sweetie," she stammered, a hollow cheerfulness that only deepened my unease. "Nothing? Mom, what is going on?" I demanded, stepping forward. But even as the words left my mouth, I wished I'd stayed behind the safety of the porch. The air crackled with unspoken truths, the kind that hang like a thick fog over a darkened forest. "Please, let us just sit down and pretend everything's normal," my aunt suggested, her voice quaking slightly. But there was a deep strain in her tone that told me normal was a long-lost memory. "No," I said firmly, forcing the word through my clenched throat. "Not after hearing that scream. I need to know what just happened." My uncle, typically the family's peacekeeper, stepped in, his brow furrowed deeply. "You shouldn't be here, kid. This isn't about you." Something sharp twisted in my chest. "You mean it is about me? What are you guys hiding?" The rest of the family shared tense glances that sowed seeds of suspicion deep within me. Suddenly, the tension snapped like a brittle twig. "Just tell her," Jesse blurted out, a surge of frustration uncoiling within him. He stepped closer, his eyes darting between me and my mother. "We can't keep this from her anymore. She deserves to know." "Deserve to know what?" My voice trembled, but was laced with urgency. "About her, about us." His words hung in the air, dripping with significance. My blood ran cold as I took a step back, bewilderment crashing around me like waves against a shore. "What us? What do you mean?" I gasped, every fiber in me screaming not to know, but I pushed forward. Something was rising, a dark tide of family secrets, and I had waded too far into the water to turn back now. "Your father." My mother finally spoke, her voice barely a whisper. He isn't who you think he is." A thrill of horror shot through me, a jagged edge against my spine. My parents had always been a unit, unshakable and solid. To hear this now felt like stepping off a cliff with no ground beneath. "What do you mean? Is he alive?" "No," my mother choked. It's more complicated than that. Mom, just tell me the truth. I raised my voice. I didn't want you to find out this way. She shook her head, tears spilling over like overflowing cups. He had a life before us. One that was dangerous. The room was suffocating, a weight pressing down on me. The echoes of my childhood slammed into me, altering their meaning forever. I felt the walls closing in, every shred of normalcy evaporating. Dangerous? I repeated, confusion clashing with dread. What did he do? It's like a dark cloud over our family, one I hoped you would never have to face, my mother replied, her voice wavering. As she spoke, the ground felt unsteady, and I grasped at a flicker of hope in my chest. Maybe we could still reclaim the light we had lost. But just then, another scream erupted from the back of the house, this one filled with a terror too raw to ignore. My heart raced again. What had we opened? I turned toward the source, adrenaline surging. Stay here, my mother implored, but I didn't hear her. With every step that took me further into the dimly lit hallway, the line between past and present was fraying. What awaited me in the shadows might be the full truth or the last shreds of my family. And as I moved forward, one thought consumed me. What if learning the truth about my father meant losing everyone else? The distant wail echoed again, more desperate than before, piercing through the tension that thrummed in the air like a taut wire. I pushed forward, my pulse quickening, each step fueled by a mix of anxiety and a gnawing need for answers. The hallway loomed, dimly lit, shadows dancing along the walls like lurking phantoms, each flicker stirring dread deep within my gut. As I approached the source of the sound, I could feel the oppressive weight of uncertainty thickening the air. I reached the doorway to the back room, my hand hovering over the doorknob, heart hammering like a drum in my chest. What awaited me on the other side? Was it the truth that could shatter what remained of my family? I flung the door open, and the room revealed itself to me like a punch in the gut. Jessie was crouched over a crumpled figure on the floor, my grandmother. Her frail body shook with sobs, her skin pale and clammy under the flickering light. Oh no, 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 I whispered, stealing a tentative step inside. Grandma. I rushed to her side. What happened? All of a sudden, the previous chaos faded, leaving only the haunting echoes of heartbreak in its place. Her eyes met mine, glassy and full of a pain I couldn't comprehend. She gasped for breath, struggling to form words between her ragged cries. It's your father. It's worse than I thought. A chill crept through me. What do you mean? I pressed, panic slicing through my thoughts. What is going on? Jessie looked up, his expression mingling concern and confusion, as he held Grandma's hand tight. We have to explain it. Please, just listen. My mother stood in the doorway, a somber silhouette, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. No, you shouldn't have to stop. Everyone needs to know. Grandma's voice cracked with determination. Secrets. Secrets never protect anyone. Sometimes knowing is painful, but it's necessary for her. Grandma, please, I implored, my stomach knotting at the thought of more truth raining down like stones. My grandmother took a shaky breath. Your father was involved with people who weren't just dangerous, they were deadly. We thought we could keep you away from that world. We wanted to shield you. Keep me away? The words burst out of me before I could hold them back. From what? And why now? Why is everything coming to a head? Because there are forces at play, she forced out, her voice trembling. They've found him. You're in danger too. In that moment, the air felt electrified, each word hanging like an anvil in the room. I felt the floor tremble beneath me, reality tearing wide open like a page ripped from a book, revealing a story I never knew existed. My mind raced with the implications of her words. What do you mean they've found him? Who? What forces? Suddenly, the power flickered, and I felt the darkness seep into the corners of the room, amplifying the dread circling within me. Then there was another sound, a sharp crack, followed by the unmistakable thud of something heavy hitting the ground. It resonated from outside. What was that? I gasped, dread clawing its way up my throat. Stay in here, my mother shouted, but her voice was swallowed by the cries that erupted from the others. Before I could process, my feet were moving forward again, driven by a reckless need to uncover the reality that was closing in on us like a vice. The chaos in the hallway ahead felt compelling and unyielding, a thread pulling me taut as I caught the glint of something metallic reflecting in the dim light of the house. What lay beyond that door might hold all the answers I sought or plunge me deeper into the darkness. There was no turning back now. I had to know, but at what cost? As I grasped the doorknob, the world seemed to hold its breath. I glanced back toward my mom, the raw anguish on her face mirrored in everyone else's eyes. Then, with a sudden rush of courage, I swung the door open. And that S when I saw him. He stood there silhouetted against the dim light filtering through the window, his presence both familiar and unnervingly foreign. Dad. I hadn't seen him in years. The last time was a whispered end to childhood, a fateful goodbye that left a gaping hole in my life. Heart racing, I searched his face for answers, and all I found was a haunting blend of defeat and desperation. Dad? Is it really you? My voice wavered, each word raw and barely escaping my throat. I'm sorry, Tara. I've tried so hard to keep you away from this. His eyes darted nervously, as if he could sense the storm brewing just beyond our fragile moment. Keep me away from what? I demanded, frustration boiling beneath my skin. You disappear for years, and now you just walk back in? I had no choice, he pleaded, his voice cracking. The crackle of tension hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. Grandma clenched Jessie's hand tighter, her expression one of grim realization. They've found him, Tara. They're not just after your father, they want you too. The words hit me like a slap, cold and searing. What are you talking about? They're coming for the ones who know him, the ones he left behind when he vanished. My father stepped further inside, the door creaking behind him. I thought I could protect you, but it's worse than I imagined. I felt like the walls were closing in. Who are they? What do they want? He took a step back, shaking his head. People I got mixed up with, it's all tangled in things you wouldn't understand. The longer you stay in the dark, the more it'll hurt. But I need to know. My voice rose, charged with an urgency I had only felt in nightmares. The shadows are closing, and Grandma's frail tone carried the weight of years, of secrets that twisted like vines through our family history. And the truth sometimes is darker than we can bear. Suddenly, the power flickered again. A loud bang came from the back door, followed by shouts. A cold squeeze gripped my heart. They're here, Mom shouted, racing to the windows as panic rippled through the room. Everyone hide. No, I cried, but the sound of glass shattering drowned out my voice, pulling me into a whirlpool of terror. Down. Jessie pushed Grandma down beside me, and instinctively, I ducked too. Low to the ground, my breaths came fast and shallow, echoing a primal fear that clawed inside me. The front door burst open. Footsteps thundered in. All the chaos rose like a tide, threatening to engulf everything. I glanced toward the shadows moving in the hallway, the flicker of flashlights piercing the darkness, illuminating faces etched with intent. Find them now, a voice shouted. Sharp. Commanding. It sent a chill racing down my spine. My mind raced, the truth hovering on the cusp of reality, dark and shapeless. I looked at my dad, his gaze fixed on the doorway, ready to confront whatever horror was about to break through. Why didn't you tell me, Dad? Why didn't you protect us? His eyes met mine, filled with a sorrow that crushed me. Sometimes the hardest truth to reveal is the one that could set you free. As my blood ran cold with realization, the door slammed against the wall, revealing a figure on the threshold. And that S when the first shadow stepped inside, and all hope of escape felt like a distant dream. The shadow that stepped inside was tall and menacing, the glint of a weapon catching the light. An invasive presence that filled the room with dread sliced our last thread of safety in half. My heart thudded louder than the footsteps, a frantic drumbeat urging me to flee, to do anything but remain there, exposed and terrified. Don't move. The intruder barked, scanning the room with cold eyes that seemed to miss nothing. He flicked the flashlight toward us, blinding in its intensity. I felt the weight of its beam pressing on my chest, squeezing the breath from my lungs. Stay down. Don't engage. Dad hissed under his breath, his eyes flicking between the invader and our hidden space, protective instinct flaring. Jessie's grip on Grandma tightened. Her fingers trembled against the floor, the fear wrinkling her features deeper than any time I'd seen before. The quiver of uncertainty settled heavy in the air. It felt like walking a tightrope over an abyss. "Start talking," the intruder shouted towards Dad, eyes narrowing. "Where is it?" A heavy silence ensued. My father's eyes widened, the air around us thick with a chilling realization, one that seemed to wrap itself around my throat like a vice. "Let them go," he finally replied, voice rough, attempting to keep calm. "You know it's just me you're after. If you think I'm here for a chit-chat, you're dead wrong," the intruder rasped, stepping closer. The light from the hallway cast eerie shadows around us, morphing the space into a dark labyrinth of unease. "Just tell us what you want," I shouted, perhaps too bravely, fear clawing at my insides. "Shut up," he snapped, turning the light on me, and in that moment, I saw his face hardened, empty eyes framed by a rough stubble and a scar slicing through his cheek. My heart sank into the pit of my stomach. "Leave her out of this," Dad shouted, each word a life raft in a storm. "This is a mess of my making, she's innocent. Your innocent girl shouldn't be here." Then, the intruder hissed, taking a menacing step our way, but then his attention floated elsewhere. Another voice echoed from the shadows. "Get back." A second figure stepped into the room, holding another flashlight and a gun, this one trained directly on Dad. "You're not going to play the hero anymore." Two of them, Grandma whispered, slumping lower, fear etched into her features. "What do you want?" Dad's voice shifted, determination mixing with fear, a great storm brewing behind the calm facade. "Talk to me, not her." Gaze fixed, the intruder lowered the flashlight, matching his eyes with my father's. "I want what you took, Troy. You can't hide forever." The name felt sharp in the room, Troy, and the air turned electric. It tumbled around me like a weightless orb, infusing the chaos with an unbearable tension. "Dad?" My voice barely rose above a whisper, but I could feel the undertow of dread pulling at my mind. What is he talking about?" Silenced by the constraints of secrets and fear, Dad hesitated, the dawning realization hitting me like a slap. Shadows danced around us, breaths caught in space, and panic began to grip my throat. "Shut it." The second intruder barked again, stepping closer, his tone shifting to a mockery of fear, the kind of fear that spread like wildfire. "You just made this a whole lot worse." "I tried to protect you," Dad said finally, voice dimming with regret. "I didn't want you dragged into this, but it's too late now." A surge of betrayal washed over me, taking root alongside the fear that threatened to drown me. "What do you mean? What is going on?" "Get her out," Dad shouted, voice rising in urgency. But before anyone could move, a loud crash erupted from the back room, the unmistakable sound of shattering wood. "That LL buy us a moment," Dad said, muscles coiling tight as he prepared to act. "Go. I'll hold them off." I began, but the urgency in his eyes left no room for debate. It would only take a moment for everything to spiral. Would Mom make it back, or have they taken her? As the fear coursed through me and the seconds dragged like hours, I had a choice to make. Stay and confront the truth of our tangled past, or run into the unknown and possibly never return. "No!" Dad yelled, propelling me into action. My instincts kicked in, adrenaline roaring in my veins. I pushed Jessie and Grandma toward the narrow hallway, risk looming just beyond. But the moment I turned back, caught in the dangerous grip of desperation, I saw my father facing them, his silhouette surrounded by menacing shadows, and suddenly it hit me, the truth. Whatever it was about to explode into existence. What secrets lay buried beneath those shadows, and could I handle what came next? The sound of splintering wood echoed in my ears, reverberating through the swirling chaos. Panic surged, a living, breathing thing that pulsed in time with my racing heart. Jesse yanked me by the arm, urgency threading through the fear in his eyes. "We have to move, now," he hissed, dragging Grandma toward the dim hallway. Adrenaline charged my limbs, that primal instinct kicking in. I was caught between the burning need to know and the raw instinct to survive. But just as we lurched forward, another crash sounded, this time from the other side of the house. "Mom!" I cried out instinctively, the word escaping my lips like a prayer. A whirl of confusion and dread enveloped me at the thought of her vulnerability. Though my impulse wanted to race toward that sound, every fiber of my being recoiled at the threat looming in the shadows behind us. "No time." Dad's voice broke through, stern, freezing in place even as every muscle in my body wanted to fight against it. Glancing back, I caught a glimpse of Dad, poised like a wall ready to defend against crashing waves. He was the anchor in the storm, my storm. "Please," Grandma murmured, her breath shivering as she steadied herself against the wall. The shadows wrapped around her frail frame, blending her with the palpable fear that filled the room. "Go!" Dad yelled again. His eyes, fiercely protective, locked onto mine, and for a fleeting moment, I saw something in his gaze, a flicker of hope mixed with impenetrable resolve. My father was in the line of fire, and yet he was willing to put himself at risk for us. We stumbled down the narrow hallway, shadows clawing at us from all sides. The anxiety subsided slightly, but the tightness in my chest remained. Just as we reached the kitchen, another voice cut through the air. "Can't you hear me? Get back here." It was the second intruder, and the chilling sound of his boots thudded behind us, each step a reminder that time was slipping away. "Go to the back door," I shouted to Jesse, compressed urgency pushing us faster. I felt an urge to look back, a nagging sensation gnawing at my gut. Had we left Dad behind? A raw screech of panic rose within me. What if I never saw him again? Jesse turned slightly, eyes wide and frantic. "What about Dad?" His voice cracked, layers of confusion and fear layered in a desperate plea. "Just do it. Please," I urged, leaning into Grandma, who was struggling to keep up. She was fragile, a porcelain figure in a storm. Her frailty wrapped around my heart, dulling my resolve. What lay behind us? Suddenly, the crash of glass shattered the night, a yelp twisting into the air followed by a low, furious growl from the intruder. The urgency morphed into something lethal. "Get out!" Dad's voice rang louder now, fighting against the chaos. Adrenaline surged and carried me toward the exit, Grandma's frail body urging me further as Jessie helped guide her. We finally burst onto the patio, my breath rasping in my throat. We were outside. The cool, open night air washed over us, but it barely settled the storm inside. Where was Mom? She had been gone too long. My heart raced as uncertainty twisted deep in my stomach. A louder shout came from behind us, anger dripping from each word. "Troy!" It was the second intruder, his voice a struck match in the night. "What do they want from us?" Jesse's voice trembled, laden with dread. Fear threatened to smother me. Had I truly left my father to protect us? I didn't know the truth, and I fumbled through the shadows of my knowledge, searching for a light. I shot a glance toward the open door, where danger loomed behind darkened walls. The choice became clear. We could keep running, leaving everything behind, or we could go back, face whatever hell awaited us, and finish this fight together. But as we stood there, uncertainty chilling us to the bone, a familiar figure appeared in the doorway. "Mom! Help!" she cried, a sharp note of panic slicing sharply through the chilling air. The moment had come, and nothing would ever be the same again. What horrors would we uncover as we stepped back into the darkness? Fear wrapped around me like a dark shroud, tightening its grip as Mom's voice tore through the night. "Help!" It echoed in my mind, the desperation intertwining with dread. I wanted to rush to her, to pull her into the safety of my arms, but the image of Dad standing alone behind us forced my feet to stay planted where they were. "Mom!" I screamed, my voice cracking. She looked disheveled, hair wild and face pale under the moonlight. A flicker of relief passed over her expression, barely visible before panic washed over her features once more. "Get in here. Now!" she yelled, casting frantic glances back into the house. The shadows grew heavier, pressing in from all sides, darkness hungry for our fear. The choice clawed at me, a bitter taste in the back of my throat. Jesse pulled at my arm. "We can't go back. We can't." His breath came in short, desperate bursts. He was right, and every instinct screamed for us to keep moving, yet Mom stood there, a beacon of hope and fear all at once. "Mom, what is happening?" I shouted, scanning the distance behind her for any sign of Dad. The darkness remained an impenetrable wall, no light, no sound, just silence. "I don't know, hurry," she pleaded, panic threading her speech. Then, I heard a low growl, echoing from the doorway. A chill slithered up my spine. I turned my head and, for a split second, time halted. From the shadows of the house, a figure emerged, faceless, a dark silhouette woven with menace. My heart thundered in my chest, each pulse a cold reminder of how fragile our reality was. "Mom," I called again, fear battling against the instinct to flee. "Get to the car." "Now," she shouted, a frantic energy electrifying her voice. The urgency set my feet in motion, dragging Jessie and Grandma along as I pushed through the choking fear. We sprinted toward the driveway, my breath staggered, each inhalation shallow. But Grandma stumbled, her hand falling from my grip. "Hold on," I shouted, panic rising like a tide. I reached for her just as the growl resonated closer, echoing through the night like a devil's whisper. "Stay with me," I screamed, the words barely leaving my lips as I grabbed her arm and pulled her forward. "Go," Jessie urged, glancing back. "We can't leave her." "Hang on," I yelled at Grandma, who met my gaze with a wide-eyed expression of fear. Just as we reached the car, a loud crash shattered the night again, and I chanced a glance back toward the house. The figure stood at the threshold, icy and menacing. I could feel its gaze piercing through the shadows, pinning us in place. "Get in," Mom insisted, her voice raw and fierce. A part of me wanted to go back to fight, but the reality of potential loss crushed that thought. My father was still inside while the darkness threatened to swallow us whole. As I climbed into the car, Grandma already buckled in. I saw Jessie hesitating, frozen in uncertainty. "Jessie," I called, my voice raw with urgency. "We can't wait. Please." One last glance over his shoulder, and he leaped into the seat next to me just as the sound of heavy footsteps crescendoed outside. The engine roared to life, drowning out the chaos behind us for a single heartbeat. "Where's Dad?" Jessie cried, panic straining his voice. He's coming," Mom replied, her hands gripping the wheel as she backed out of the driveway, eyes scanning ahead. We raced into the uncertain night, but the weight of unresolved fear clung to me, suffocating. "What is happening?" I gasped, desperation spilling into the air. "We left him. We have to find a way to help him," Mom replied through clenched teeth, determination lining her brow, but inside, I could see the doubt creeping in alongside the fear. In that moment, surrounded by shadows and uncertainty, I heard a chilling howl rising in the distance. Our night was far from over. We couldn't escape the sense of looming danger that followed. What had we truly let loose? And would we ever find out what really happened to Dad? The car sped down the winding road, headlights slicing through the inky darkness. My heart raced, its beat a frantic reminder of the chaos we had just fled. Jessie gripped the door, his knuckles white, fear and uncertainty mixing on his face. Grandma sat in the back, silent, her gaze lost somewhere in the shadows that blurred outside the window. "What was that thing?" Jessie finally asked, breaking the oppressive silence. His voice trembled, barely above a whisper. I don't know," Mom admitted, her hands trembling on the wheel. "But we have to keep moving. We can't look back." I wanted to scream at her, demand answers, ask about Dad, but no words came. Instead, the silence filled the car, a heavy weight pressing down on us. Outside, the trees loomed like silent sentinels, their branches twisting against the dark. With every glance in the rearview mirror, I half expected to see the faceless figure chasing us, pulling us back into the darkness. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed from the woods. The sound was sharp, piercing, and I flinched, jumping in my seat. "What was that?" "Probably just a branch," Mom said, voice taut. It was clear she didn't believe her own words. We fell quiet again, the air thick with unspoken fears. The howl that had haunted us moments before clawed its way back into my thoughts, a harbinger of doom echoing through my mind. "We need to find a safe place," I suggested, trying to inject a sense of purpose. "A motel or something?" Mom shook her head, eyes scanning the road ahead. "There's nothing for miles. We have to get further away first. Just keep your eyes peeled." I remembered the last time we'd driven this road, family trips filled with laughter, not featuring monsters lurking in the shadows. Mom, what is happening? I pressed, desperation spilling into my voice. We left Dad back there. We can't just enough. She snapped, and I recoiled at the venom in her tone. Her frustration was mirrored by the cold fear etched across Jesse's face. In that moment, loneliness engulfed me. We were lost, adrift in a world that made no sense. Suddenly, a blaring horn erupted from behind us, a flickering light chasing us through the darkness. What now? Mom muttered, her pulse quickening. It was another car, and it bore down on us with alarming speed, lights flashing ominously against the night. Mom, they're getting closer. I shouted, panic spiraling inside me. What do we do? Stay down, she ordered, ducking her head low, foot slamming on the gas. The car lurched forward, but the other vehicle wouldn't let us go easily. Without warning, it swerved into our lane, cutting us off. The driver, an unknown face, hung out the window, shouting something I couldn't hear over the pounding of my heartbeat. All I could see was the urgency in their expression, and it set my nerves on fire. Mom, who are they? Jessie's eyes widened in horror. I don't know, she screamed, voice trembling as she turned the wheel sharply. The car spun, and we hurtled off the road into the dense underbrush. My stomach dropped as vines snagged at the tires, pulling us to a jarring halt. Silence swallowed us again. Is everyone okay? I panted, the breath hitching in my throat. The forest was eerily still, apart from the rumble of the other car skidding to a stop behind us. Stay in the car, Mom instructed sharply. Lock the doors. As I fumbled to comply, a chill crept over me. What was happening? Who was chasing us, and why? A figure emerged from the other vehicle, cloaked in darkness. And, through it, I heard the voice that sent a jolt of recognition through my veins. Open the door. We need to talk. It's about your father. I froze. The night hung heavy around us, secrets spilling in the air. What did they mean? What had we walked into? As the tension coiled tightly within the car, I gripped the handle, uncertainty flooding my mind. Would I dare uncover the truth? The towering figure loomed outside the car, his urgency growing fierce like a gale-force wind. My breath hitched in my throat as the words, your father, rang like an alarm bell in my head. What did this stranger know? I glanced at Mom, searching her eyes for answers, but all I saw was fear mirrored back. Tara, don't open that door, she said, her voice a fierce whisper taut with unspoken dread. But with every shaky beat of my heart, I felt the pull of the unknown, an urge pushing me to know what was happening. We have to run. Jesse's voice trembled beside me, fear radiating off him like heat from a fire. We can't stay here. Please, open the door. The stranger shouted again, his voice quieter now but somehow more urgent. I promise I can help you. I know what's coming. With a deep breath that felt more like a prayer, I turned to the others. What if he's telling the truth? I insisted, my voice steadier than I felt. We couldn't just sit here and let our lives spiral into chaos without seeking answers. What if there's a way to save Dad? Mom shook her head, panic in her eyes. We can't trust him. Not now. We have to suddenly, the woods filled with rustling sounds. I felt the hairs on my neck stand up. Shadows danced around us, moving closer. We don't have much time, that stranger warned, his expression now flickering with genuine fear. They're coming. I can help you get your father back. As the last bit of rational thought slipped away, I made my choice. Here, I said, reaching for the locks. I'm opening it. Tara, no. Mom cried, but it was too late. Before I could hesitate again, the door swung open, and the stranger rushed inside, breathing heavy like he'd just sprinted a marathon. He glanced over his shoulder toward the shadowy edges of the forest, urgency pressing on us like a weight. Get the engine running, he ordered, voice raw. What do you mean? Jesse asked, confusion etched across his face, but the stranger wasn't waiting for an explanation. Trust me, we're not safe here. I was still grappling with fear-mixed nerves. What do you know about my father? As the stranger gathered himself, the glimmer of recognition slipped across his features. I was one of them before everything went downhill. Your dad was my partner. It wasn't he supposed to end like this? A wave of memories crashed over me, stories of my father I'd held dear, a man who had been painted as a hero throughout my childhood. If you were supposed to protect him, why didn't you? I pressed, unyielding. Because I didn't see what was coming. None of us did. He shouted, fracturing under the weight of guilt. But deep in his eyes, I saw a flicker of the determination that could ignite hope. Then, the familiar sound of shattering glass echoed through the trees, sharpening my instincts. They're here, he said, urgency clawing at his voice. We need to move, now. With a heart pounding like a drum, I yelled at Mom and Jesse, let us do it. The shadows drew nearer, their low growls rumbling like a menacing storm. With our breaths sinking, we jumped into action. Mom fumbled to ignite the ignition, while I shot nervous glances into the encroaching dark, keenly aware we were running out of time. Just then, the stranger shouted at the window, they're coming. Move. Mom slammed her foot on the gas, the car jolting away from the underbrush and back onto the road. We sped into the night, the blur of trees flashing past as fear engulfed us all. But my mind raced at lightning speed, processing everything that just unfolded. Where do we go? Voiced Jesse, his fear mingling with desperation, sweat glistening on his brow. The stranger, now aware of the fear that can tether even the bravest heart, leaned in, his heartbeat almost reflecting mine. We need to find the old hideout, he said, urgency pouring through his words. Your father, he went there to protect you and Mom. It's south, the only place we can regroup. My stomach churned with uncertainty as I whispered, what if there's nothing left? What if it's all a trap? Then we fight. We fought our way through every shadow. They won't stop now. His voice was firm, a solid anchor amidst the storms swirling around us. As we roared deeper into the deceptive silence of the night, uncertainty shook me, but an ember of courage sparked inside. Hope mingled with fear, tangled in a web of love and loyalty. We were on a journey that had wrenched every thin semblance of safety apart. With each heartbeat, I felt that violent truth close in around us again. But we were together, facing whatever darkness lay ahead. Ahead, uncertainty shimmered like a distant mirage, a place where everything would change. It was time to learn the truth, no matter the consequences. Everything would either come crashing down or it was the beginning of something even brighter. And as we rounded the bend toward the unknown, I realized this fight was only just beginning. What lay ahead could either heal us or break us forever. But we had each other, and sometimes that was enough. You need to subscribe now to keep up with every twist and turn that lies ahead in our story. This is the moment to show your support. With just one click, you can help shape our future updates. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep us alive in your feed. And flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this heart-stopping conclusion. I want to hear every thought. I can feel the excitement buzzing. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this finale. Let us dive deeper into the shadows together.